Please be seated. Well, good morning, everyone. It's good to see you here, and a special warm welcome to the Girl Guides, the Rainbows, the Brownies, the Boys Brigade with the Girls Association. So it's terrific to have so many of you here, and welcome also to any parents or other visitors with us here today. We're here to mark and celebrate Remembrance Sunday, and we're here to worship God. We're going to listen, we're going to hear the call to worship, and then the choir will lead us into worship by singing the Introit. Psalm 98 says, "Sing to God a brand new song. He's made a world of wonder. He rolled up his sleeves. He set things right. God made history with salvation. He showed the world what he could do." Of that hymn say, "Confidently all can worship in the presence of the Lord." And that's what we will do now together by singing "Praise My Soul, the King of Heaven," verses 1 to 4 of hymn 160. may well have been a hymn that people would have sung 100 years ago, and if you were paying attention to the words, they speak of, in the last verse, frail as summer's flower we flourish, blows the wind and it is gone. The fragility of flowers in the field, and we think particularly today of poppies who were there one day and the next they've already dropped their leaves. That's a symbol for remembrance and a symbol for human lives, which are, in the big picture of things, only so short. And that's what we'll be thinking about today. Let us turn to God in prayer. Let us pray. Living God, on this day we are called to remember the past. All those who lost their lives in the course of wars, the horror they endured, the determination they displayed to defend the values we hold so dear today, the sacrifices they made so that we now might enjoy lasting peace. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayer. Living God, forgive us that, despite our words, all too easily we forget. We fail to learn the lessons of the past. We forget the debt we owe. We take for granted the security we enjoy, and we do not work for the kind of world so many gave their lives for. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayer. Living God, let there be peace in our world where now there is war. And grant that the time will come when nations will live together justly, openly, and harmoniously in a common fellowship of humankind. Lord, in your mercy, hear our prayer. And we pray in the name of the one who came in peace, Jesus Christ our Lord. And he taught us to pray, and the words of this prayer will be up on the screen so you can join in. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be your name. Your kingdom come, your will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debts, as we forgive our debtors. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. Yours is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever. Amen. Now Johnny will come to read for us. The first reading is from Isaiah chapter 52, verses 7 to 10. And the prophet here is giving encouragement to the people of Jerusalem and people of Israel at the time, who were then occupied and people were away in exile. So Johnny will read Isaiah 52, 7 to 10.
How beautiful on the mountains are the feet of those who bring good news, who proclaim peace, who bring good tidings, who proclaim salvation, who say to Zion, your God reigns. Listen, your watchmen lift up their voices. Together they shout for joy. When the Lord returns to Zion, they will see it with their own eyes. Burst into songs of joy together, you ruins of Jerusalem. For the Lord has comforted his people, he has redeemed Jerusalem. The Lord will lay bare his holy arm in the sight of all the nations, and all the ends of the earth will see the salvation of our God. Amen.
Thank you, Johnny. We're going to sing another hymn, which is really a psalm, the hymn 83. I rejoiced when I heard them say, and in this song we pray for peace in Jerusalem and all the nations around it. So hymn 83. And the words of this hymn are extra poignant today as we are aware of the ongoing conflict and the devastation in Gaza and in Israel. So we will be praying for the people of Israel and of Gaza later in our prayers. We're going to hear now from the New Testament some words from Matthew's Gospel. And in this passage, we hear what Jesus had to say to the people who gathered round. And Niamh is going to come and read for us. And the reading is taken from a different translation that we normally have. So the words may sound slightly different to you, but sometimes that helps to listen better. And this is taken from the International Children's Bible. So Matthew 5, verses 1 to 12.
Jesus saw the crowds who were there. He went up on a hill and sat down. His followers came to him. Jesus taught the people and said, "Those people who know they have great spiritual needs are happy. The kingdom of heaven belongs to them. Those who are sad now are happy. God will comfort them. Those who are humble are happy. The earth will belong to them. Those who want to do the right more than anything else are happy. God will fully satisfy them. Those who give mercy to others are happy. Mercy will be given to them. Those who are pure in their thinking are happy. They will be with God. Those who work to bring peace are happy. God will call them his children. Those who are treated badly for doing good are happy. The kingdom of heaven belongs to them. People will say bad things about you and hurt you. They will lie and say all kinds of evil things about you because you follow me. But when they do these things to you, you are happy. Rejoice and be glad. You have a great reward waiting for you in heaven. People did the same thing to the prophets who lived before you.
Thank you, Niamh. And we give thanks to God for these readings from his holy word. The choir are going to sing an anthem. It's called Requiem by Gilkyson. want to read a poem. It's written by a minister who writes prayers and other things for other ministers to use, and he had done a trip to Normandy battlefields, and that inspired him to write this from the point of view. He was trying to imagine what it would be like to be a young person, a young man, more than 100 years ago now, called up to arms. How did you feel that morning when the call-up papers came through? Did your blood run cold or excitement take hold at the thought that your country needs you? How did you feel that morning when the time came to set off from home? Did you conquer your fears or break down in tears with the loved ones you'd soon leave alone? How did you feel that morning when you first set foot in the trench? Did you brush it aside or wish you could hide from the horror, the carnage, the stench? How did you feel that morning when your friend was blown up by a shell? Did you rush to his aid or just stand there afraid that you'd somehow been whisked off to hell? How did you feel that morning when they sent you over the top? Did you shout with relief or in sheer disbelief, vainly praying that this nightmare would stop? How did you feel that morning when the bullets started to fly? Did you think even then you might cheat death again? Or did you know you were going to die? How did you feel that morning as the lifeblood slipped slowly away? Did you try to make sense of these crazy events, or with one final breath, try to pray? How do I feel this morning in the face of such slaughter and sorrow? Do I just stand aghast as I think of the past, or give all for a better tomorrow? I will read a few verses from Isaiah chapter 2. In the last days, the mountain of the Lord's temple will be established as the highest of the mountains. It will be exalted above the hills, and all nations will stream to it. Many peoples will come and say, "Come, let us go up to the mountain of the Lord, to the temple of the God of Jacob. He will teach us his ways, so that we may walk in his paths." The law will go out from Zion, the word of God from Jerusalem. He will judge between the nations and will settle disputes for many peoples. They will beat their swords into plowshares and their spears into pruning hooks. Nation will not take up sword against nation, nor will they train for war anymore. Come, descendants of Jacob, let us walk in the light of the Lord. May I ask you to stand for the remembrance. They shall not grow old, as we that are left grow old. Age shall not weary them, nor the years condemn. At the going down of the sun and in the morning, we will remember them. When you go home, tell them of us and say, "For your tomorrow we gave our today." Now, if the congregation can please remain standing while the wreath bearers come forward. be seated. I just want to also point out, you probably be able to see them on the top of the piano, the lovely poppy windmills that the rainbows have made, and then the brownies, the big cross with all the poppy wreaths. So they've made those during the week, and we thought we should display them. They're lovely, thank you. Now, if you needed a jiggle about that's allowed, that was all very serious, of course. I wonder, and you can answer back here in this case, I wonder how you would quickly pass on an important message. If you had an important message and you wanted to get it to someone quickly, how would you do that? Any ideas? Yeah? Use your phone, yeah, absolutely. Would you call or would you text? Would you call or would you text? You would text, okay. Then they do need to be watching, of course, that they're actually going to pick it up, yeah? A pigeon? Yeah, that would be cool. That would be really cool. Do you have a pigeon? No. No, we have pigeons in the back garden, but they're not mine. I'm not sure they would actually come and listen, but that is, of course, pigeons were used, and they were used during the war as well, to bring tiny little messages on little bits of paper, and they could fly long distances, so they're really clever. But I don't have a pigeon, but it would be a good idea if we had pigeons and if they knew what they were doing. Right, any other ideas? A message, an important message, and you need to get it to someone quick. So we've had, you could text, you could probably also use a phone for calling. I know that's revolutionary, but we could actually make a phone call, yeah? Email, yes, that can work as well. Anything else? If it was really, really, really important and the person wasn't picking up the phone and they weren't checking their messages and they weren't checking their emails, what would you have to do? Yeah? Send a letter. It's going to take a while though, isn't it? I mean, yeah, it works, but it could take a few days. Any other ideas? You could just go round, like drive or run or whatever, but go yourself. So have some pictures. That basically was all the ideas that we had. So the phone, what's the next one? The mail, which is good. And if it's really important, sometimes you do still get a letter in the mail, you know, because it seems to just add importance, and you might need to keep whatever the message was, but it is a bit slow. So next one. That was running, yeah, just actually go and see the person yourself, try to find them. Have we anything else in here? Yeah, they're just literally passing that news on maybe at school if you've managed to find the person that needs to hear it and you're telling them. Don't know if we've got anything else. Right, this, just leave it on that slide. So I was thinking about how we do share important messages because Christine, one of your guide captains, she shared me a wee article a few weeks ago, and it was about the guides during World War I, and I thought it was really interesting, so that's kind of prompted my sermon for today. If you are in the guides, you may have already done things with that story, so you may already know it, but then you'll just hear it again. So during World War I, there was a group of guides, older ones, so they were sort of between 14 and 16-year-old, who were asked to help MI5. Now, who knows what MI5 is? Yeah? Excellent. The British Intelligence Agency. So they're basically the country's spies. They need to gather all the relevant information to keep us safe internally, and then you've got MI6. They send spies abroad as well. But this was for MI5, so in Britain, and during the war, it was really important that they caught any messages and any important information. Now, initially, and I am sorry to those of you who are scouts here today, you're not coming off very well. Initially, the scouts had been asked to help. I think we have a picture of the scouts as well. Can we go to the next one? Yeah, they're just fighting, but no comment. So actually many of the scouts and the boys brigade did, the boys did, you know, actually go off to fight in the war. But helping MI5 wasn't terribly successful. Apparently they were too noisy and also they weren't good at keeping a secret. Now, again, I'll leave that one be. But they asked 90 guides to do the job. So what would they actually do? They would have to do some cleaning. So first they would be dusting, refilling the ink wells. Again, old thing, but people would use ink pens that had little pots with ink, very messy, but you need to have enough ink in your pot so you could keep writing. They had to disinfect the phones and repair typewriters. And they would also post documents, deliver classified messages around London, and then collect any paperwork that needed to be burned in order to keep it safe. They had to swear never to read any of the sensitive content that they were carrying. Could you imagine doing that job as a teenager? It's really cool, isn't it? It's just very important and secret and very responsible. But it's obviously also quite dangerous and clearly important. And they were paid 30 pence a week. Now that's not an awful lot, of course, but it would have been a little bit more back in the day. I wonder if that would be something that you'd have liked to have done if there was a war going on. I think you'd have to be very good at keeping a secret and not acting suspiciously. I think I'd find that very difficult, personally speaking. But it must be a great feeling to know that you're, in a small way, helping the war effort. And you're helping to keep the country safe and keep the soldiers who are fighting away over in Europe safe as well. And you could play your part, even in a small way, rather than feeling helpless. It wasn't the only thing that uniformed organizations did, because they also did collections and fundraising and other things, but this story in particular is quite unique. And then it says some guides were even taken to France for the signing of the Treaty of Versailles. So the Treaty of Versailles was the peace agreement that eventually was reached after the physical fighting had stopped. A peace agreement was reached and it ended World War I. So the guides acted as special couriers for the British delegation, securing and moving secret messages between all of the countries as they negotiated peace. Isn't that amazing? So these girls had a small role to play in making peace in Europe. So that story, when Christine sent it to me, it made me think of two Bible passages that we have read this morning. One was read by Johnny from Isaiah, and one that was read by Neve, and it was from Jesus. Jesus said, "Happy or blessed are the peacemakers." Now, it's really hard and difficult to resolve conflict, and you probably know that if there's been a conflict in your group of friends or at work or at home or in your family, it's really difficult to try to bring people around the table again and get them talking and eventually, hopefully, even liking each other again. It's, of course, even harder to do that in communities or in the country when there's all sorts of divisions and angry words or actions have been exchanged. And harder still to create peace between countries at war. Now, those guides didn't create the Treaty of Versailles. They weren't part of the negotiations. And yet they were important messengers to make the peace possible. I wonder in what way, even a very small way, can we make peace where we are? So maybe if there has been a fight amongst your friends or in your family, or bigger still, what can you do to make it better? It's much easier to create a fight or to create conflict than to make peace. What we say or do makes a big difference. What can we say or do to make peace? We may feel that we're too small and too insignificant, too unimportant, but every little helps. And like the girl guides, We can pass on messages that bring peace rather than create conflict. I don't know if any of the older teens or maybe the adults are on social media. If you read the comments, don't read the comments, but it's very easy to start a war on Twitter or on in Facebook comments or whatever it is, and what can you say or do to make things better rather than worse. Now, the other text that I was thinking about was what we read from Isaiah. Now, he was a prophet who lived a long time ago, Jesus lived 2,000 years ago, but he was even another 750 years earlier. So 2,750 years ago, if you're calculating. And prophets received messages from God to tell the people. And this is what we heard. How beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news, who proclaim peace, who bring good tidings, who proclaim salvation, who say to Zion, your God reigns. Now, the picture is of someone running to a city at the time of war. So that what we talked about, actually going yourself to tell some good news or bad news, that's the picture. So there's a messenger here running from a battlefield to the city of Jerusalem to share the good news that victory has been achieved, that the war has ended, that peace had come at last. And the people that Isaiah was writing and talking to had been used to war and occupation. Babylonians had been in charge for a long time and taken over their country. Lots of people have been taken away into exile. It means you've been taken away from your home and you're just put in a different country altogether. And it was far away. And there were some people left in the land and in Jerusalem. That was their capital city, but they were very discouraged and had given up hope. They thought God had left them. But Isaiah has a message for them, and he says, peace is on the way, and God has come to your rescue. So that is great news. Salvation at last. It sounds a bit odd to talk about the feet of a messenger. I don't know what your feet look like, if they're beautiful or not, but people back in the day wore sandals so their feet would get really mucky even on a good day, and if you'd been running for miles because you'd come from the battlefield, I'm sure your feet are not going to look particularly good if they have blisters as well. But Isaiah is writing about the joy with which that messenger would be received. So you don't really care what the person looks like by the time they arrive. If they have that kind of incredible news that there's peace at last, you would say, how beautiful are your feet. You beautiful person. Thank you for coming with this good news. The people of Jerusalem should know God reigns. Now, of course, the guides helping to get the Versailles Peace Treaty agreed had to keep their messages a secret. They couldn't say what was going on. They couldn't shout it out. But today we remember when 105 years ago, yesterday, the armistice or the ceasefire was signed on the 11th of the 11th, 1918. And at 11 a.m. on that day, the fighting stopped. And then the news, even though they didn't have, mobile phones like we did, and nor the internet, but they were able to share the news really quickly with telegrams and radio that there was peace. And I was reading when I was doing my research that apparently in Britain, rumours of an armistice, so that's a ceasefire, had already been growing over the previous week. And then at 11 a.m., a cacophony of maroons, sirens, factory hooters, train whistles, and car horns erupted. So everyone just made as much noise as they could. And the immediate lifting of any wartime restrictions was celebrated with rockets, bonfires, street parties, and the ringing of church bells. I think I have a picture of that as well. You can imagine just everyone just going out, dropping what they were doing, and celebrating. That must have been some day. How beautiful are the feet of those who bring good news, who proclaim peace. Now sadly, the end of World War I wasn't the end of all wars. There would be another devastating war only a few decades later, World War II. The peace of World War I wasn't the last, and some historians will say actually the conditions of that agreement of the Treaty of Versailles, because they were so harsh on Germany, it kind of caused the Second World War. And today we have the ongoing war in Ukraine, and now already nearly 2 years, and the conflict in Gaza, the war with Israel, with terrible news reports of people dying every day. Now, I don't know about you. Now, I'm nearly finished in case you're wondering. I don't know about you, but all this news of war, and if you watch the news, there's just always seems to be something on the news about war. It makes me sad and a bit hopeless, really. Will there ever be world peace? An end to conflicts, big or small? It just doesn't seem possible. It's too hard to make peace, real peace that's fair for everyone, and it's just, and it allows people to live well together. How do we long for a message of peace? So have I got any good news to share with you this morning? Jesus in the Sermon on the Mount shares good news for those who are currently sad. Jesus has good news for people that are currently grieving or poor or trying to do the right thing or trying to make peace and not getting anywhere. Jesus says, happy or blessed are you. Now that doesn't really make sense because clearly you're not happy if those things are happening to you. It's difficult and you're grieving. But Jesus says you are blessed, you are happy because God is on your side. God comes to reign and he does things differently. Just look at Jesus and you will see how he does things differently. All the things that Jesus sets out in that passage we read, that's what he does himself. Just keep going. Keep doing what is right. Keep trying to make peace. Keep following Jesus, even if it's hard. Because God is going to help you, and God will bring peace for all the world one day. So don't give up being a messenger of peace, like the guides 100 years ago, or a maker of peace, as Jesus tells us to do. Amen. We're going to sing hymn 528, Make Me a Channel of Your Peace.
Make me a channel terrible slight on the Scouts there, I think. If you come back next year, we'll do a very positive input on the Scouts and the Boys' Brigades input during the wars. Let us pray. God, you have created all the world and all the people in it. We give you thanks for your generosity and patience. You are slow to anger and full of compassion. But we are not like that. We thank you that here in the United Kingdom we can live in peace and freedom, and we take it for granted most of the time. We thank you that right now we don't need to worry about bombs or attacks, and we can feel safe and secure. But this kind of peace is a precarious thing. We know it is not the same in many places of the world. And even in our homes, schools, workplaces and society, there is much conflict, and sometimes people get badly hurt. Help us to be wise about what we say and do to each other. Help us to be messengers and makers of peace. Let us pray for all who suffer as a result of conflict and ask that God may give us peace. Can I ask that after each sentence you please respond with, "May God give peace." For the servicemen and women who have died in the violence of war, each one remembered by and known to God, may God give peace. For those who love them in death as in life, offering the distress of our grief and the sadness of our loss, may God give peace. For all members of our armed forces who are in danger this day, remembering family, friends, and all who pray for their safe return, may God give peace. For civilian women, children, and men whose lives are disfigured by war or terror, calling to mind in penitence the anger and hatreds of humanity, praying in particular today for Israel, Gaza, Ukraine, Yemen, and Myanmar and their people. May God give peace. For peacemakers and peacekeepers who seek to keep this world secure and free, may God give peace. For all who bear the burden and privilege of leadership, political, military, and religious, praying in particular for His Majesty the King and all who govern over us in London and in Edinburgh, asking for gifts of wisdom and resolve in the search for reconciliation and peace. May God give peace. O God of truth and justice, we hold before you those whose memory we cherish and those whose names we will never know. Help us to lift our eyes above the torment of this broken world and grant us the grace to pray for those who wish us harm. As we honour the past, may we put our faith in your future, for you are the source of life and hope, now and forever. Amen. We rise to sing hymn number 161, O God, our help in ages past.
Our
remain standing for the benediction, and after the benediction the colour party will come forward and receive the colours, and then we will sing the national anthem at the very end. After the service, you're warmly invited to stay behind for some coffee and tea. There are biscuits, and next Sunday, that's well, for everyone, because everyone's welcome, but we will have a joint service with Freeland here at 10:30. And I just want to thank everyone involved in making this service possible, and I hope to see you all again soon. So now go as messengers and makers of peace, with the blessing of God Almighty, Father, Son, and Holy Spirit, world without end.